Okay. So we should be on YouTube. All right, so we on the cusp of Black History Month, another Black History Month coming up. Should be starting about what one more day. It was January 31st. So just talking about why Black History. Hold on one second. Pretty much why Black History is important. So knowing Black history, it just improves your social and psychological legacies by fostering pride, determination, and self-esteem. It can equip us to overcome obstacles and to build stronger, more unified communities, which I know that's what we're trying to do and what we need to do. And then by understanding and applying wisdom of our ancestors, we can recreate and refurbish humanity's greatest minds, becoming better versions of ourselves. And Malcolm X had a quote, and he said that of all our studies, it is history that is best qualified to reward our research. And when you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. And once you see how they got theirs straight, then you know how you can get yours straight. And so, is everybody's up in arms about this attack on DEI. And for Black History Month specifically, it's important for us to understand its origin, right? So Black History Month, it wasn't given to us by nobody else. We didn't choose February because it's the shortest month in the year, or people didn't give us Black History Month because it's the shortest month in the year. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the person who selected Black History, or February, for Black History Week. And originally, he chose that week because it coincided with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. And so after, so many years, I think around 1975, it ended up becoming longer than a week. And then the federal government ended up observing Black History Month for the whole month of February. And so it's important for us to know those tidbits. And the reason why Dr. Carter G. Woodson even came up with studying Black history and the importance of it was because people didn't know the story and people didn't know the contributions of African Americans to this country, but let alone the world, as far as what they did to help out advance civilization. And then also you have people kind of like we see today who come into the community and then they want to teach Black history and talk about Black history, but they don't have a thorough understanding of Black history either. So he made it his responsibility to start pushing out facts about black people, about African Americans and what they were doing. Started talking about Black inventions, things like the elevator by Alexander Miles, things like the doorknob, the refrigerant truck, Frederick Jones, who also invented the window AC unit, not the stationary AC unit, the big one that's outside, but the one that you're able to transport, which is why you're able to transport food all across this country because of Frederick Jones's invention with the refrigeration truck. And just even people like who whitewash Martin Luther King. So being honest, we hear so much about Martin Luther King growing up, and I won't say, when I say so much, I mean we keep hearing about the misnomer "I Have a Dream" speech. We keep hearing about the judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And so because you hear about this all growing up through school, and you think that you understand Martin Luther King, you think that you're an expert on Martin Luther King, you think that you have a good grasp on Martin Luther King, his approach and his contributions, and we really don't. And I had to become honest with myself about that, and I just sat back and I started to think about some of the things like, okay, well, what was his speech that's really called Normalcy Never Again, and where he improvised the I Have a Dream portion of it? Well, it's about 17 minutes long, and the most we know about it is the I Have a Dream portion, but what did he say for the other 15 minutes? What was his requirements? And you hear about the assassination, and then, if you start digging deeper, why did he get assassinated? What happened at that particular time, and how he started to focus on poor people, and he started to focus on a poor people campaign and the economics of the African American community. It's just these little nuances So, if you want to find out more about that and for us to talk about Black history, of course, yeah, I'm here on TikTok right now for a minute, but I'm also on YouTube, and YouTube is where the longer segment is at House of I-10 on YouTube, HOUSEOFATEN. And that's also where you can find me at on Instagram, House of I-10_22. You know, we really as a people just can't really get up in arms about what's happening from the federal government as far as the DEI and stuff goes when it comes to the education and knowledge of our story, and then spreading that story and advancing that throughout the community. So, it can be a debate and a question on do they want to attack and stop us from learning our history? Is that the goal? Knowledge of self, and then to be able to distort how we see ourselves and our impact in the world, or are they just trying to really push out all these other agendas, and Black history is kind of lumped into that? It could be a debate, it could be a conversation about it. I don't think that that's the crux, though. I think the crux of it is, what are we doing as an individual and as a people to even learn our story, to recognize its origins, and to know the facts about the story. I think that that's the important part. And I mean, I'll call a spade, and say a lot of people, I think, are just up in arms about this stuff too when it comes to the history aspect of it, especially in the schools, because it's performative, because they know that they should be. But because I've been in too many rooms and too many situations where nobody is bringing up the importance of African American studies. I ain't even just talking about historically. I'm talking about contemporary as well. Like, too many people are, woe is me, and the Selena Gomez crying for the attention about it. But in the midst, before any of this was happening, people wasn't pouring over books. And like, if you look on my bookshelf, I got books here about Black history, Black studies, and all of that. And then I got even more books that's out there on a whole nother bookshelf. I think in my house alone, I got about 200 plus books on African American studies, and the African American experience. So, and I'm not saying that you have to have 200 books on the thing, but there has to be a standard on who really cares and who's serious about this work and then who's not. And I think people also assume because they're Black, they understand the Black experience, they know the Black story, and that's not true either. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson even said that just because you're Black, and I'm paraphrasing, just because you're Black, it doesn't automatically make you educated on the Black experience and understanding what we as a Black people have come from and what we need to do. So that's just, for me, I'm just a little like, calm down. Those of us who are in this space, who are doing it, who want to see these improvements, like, we're gonna handle it, and you can join on board, but you got to sit down. You have to do your own studies. You just can't come in here and then just start spewing things all because you skinfolk. And so, just knowing that type of stuff and using this month. Also, Black History Month is not supposed to be the month where you just engulf yourself in all of this Black history and start learning about it. You are actually supposed to take the whole entire year to be studying and learning about the Black experience. Then come February is actually supposed to be the show and prove. So this is where you go into schools and you start having the Black history projects on display, like the science projects. This is when you go on radio stations. This is when you go on podcasts and you start talking about all of the things that you learn. So you're supposed to take the whole 330 plus days to do the studies. And then come February, that's when you're supposed to be doing the performance, the show and proves, and the displays. So all the babies should be talking about what they learned throughout the whole entire month for Black history. And so just even understanding those nuances, like, there's another good book too by Dr. Henry Louis Gates called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro. So if you want to kind of get like your tidbits, like high level about different topics, and don't really want to pour over a book that just talks about one particular subject, one particular person, I definitely would recommend that book. That's been a really amazing book to help put things into different contexts and to help understand, the Black story. So there's other ways. I got another book too, which I'll probably display that one sometime throughout this time while we're talking about this, that also talks about Black history, but it goes by subject, and it's only like 2 or 3 pages per subject to give you like a little timeline and then to give you a couple of facts about different things, whether it's Brown versus Board of Education, Plessy versus Ferguson, and this talks about worldwide experiences too. So you talk about a post-racial society and a colorblind society. France is really dealing with that. And if you talk to the people from the African diaspora in the French culture, they'll tell you how that's not working out too well either. So yeah, so we back. So we back here on the YouTube. And then so just using what Martin Luther King and was saying when it comes to the looking around at what other minorities may have going on. I mean, really, you don't even have to look at what other minorities got going on, because we can look at our story, learn our story, and see what how the blueprint is set, see what's going on with that. And so, I got a whole entire presentation just about Black history alone, where just all these different topics that exist, from going back to fossil evidence and out of Africa movement. So ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which was started by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, they have every month, they're the ones to select what the theme is for Black History Month. And so for this year, it's African Americans and labor. Super, super important topic, right? Because talking about, if you go all the way back, how have African Americans contribute to the founding and building of this nation? So not in this video, not in this segment, but throughout the month. As a matter of fact, check me out February 4th on Black History Project. So at the Black History Project, we're going to do a release, and we're going to do kind of like a maybe 15, 20-minute live segment on African Americans and labor. We're going to talk about the origins of the Black History Month theme and topic. We're going to talk about, what were some of the different projects, what were some of the different occupations that Black people engaged in throughout the years, talking about all the way pre-slavery, all the way up to present day. What has been our contribution on the economics, how we did the railroads. We're going to talk about the building of the White House. The White House that we see now is not the original one. It was actually burned down before, and then it had to be reconstructed and rebuilt. So we're going to talk about the building of colleges, universities that's around, roads, all types of things, and especially like the agricultural health and impact of African Americans on this country. And, in this day and age, we really got to get back to exploring growing our own food. And building our own homes again, getting back into construction. As we know, they talk about other minorities, specifically like Hispanics, who do your roofing, who construct your homes and stuff. And African Americans' impact is just not really there. And as we try to move out of forcing everybody to go to college and universities and get more back into the vocational and the trade, the Black community really needs to explore that. Blue collar work is essential and is important. So I love the theme that ASALH chose for this month, talking about African Americans and labor, because we really got to have that conversation. And as we're moving the country forward, and some people will say we're moving the country backwards, but just talking about in time, like as we're moving the country forward, we have to really ask ourselves, what is the Black experience and Black contribution going to be? Everybody cannot be entertainers. Everybody cannot be necessarily entrepreneurs in the sense of just trying to own their own business. Like if you own your own business, right, but you don't have W-2 employees, then you're essentially, you just have a decorated job that you're doing, is where you just don't have to answer to a boss, right? But you're not really reinvesting and advancing the community, because these people in our community, what we say, we need jobs, and we always are asking, or we're saying we need jobs, so means that you're asking somebody to provide those jobs. But the question that sits in the back of my mind is like, who are you asking? Who are you asking, and why do they owe you? And what are we doing for self? What are we doing for each other? What are we doing for our culture? What are we doing for our neighborhoods and versus our community? What's the difference between neighborhood and community? Yeah, we got a place where it's just Black people and we lay our heads, But what is the business? How is the dollar circulating in that community, if it's circulating at all? And then what's the infrastructure that we're putting in place to build that? And so these are the strategies and the conversations that we need to have as a people if we're going to talk about advancing our society, advancing our culture, being something to ourselves, restoring pride, self-awareness in who we are, and not essentially asking for handouts or for anybody to even be able to misconstrue that we're asking everybody to do something for us, because you'll hear this a lot of times, that the world don't owe you understanding. And so if the world don't owe us understanding, and we're okay with that, we think about that, then what's within our control? And I always, if you watch my segments before, you probably heard this 1,000 times, but I feel like I always have to say it because it's important. So we can blame racism, right? I always like to put things in percentages. We can blame racism, we can blame discrimination, we can blame oppression for a particular percentage of our experience in this community. But the question is, what is the other percentage of things that's within your control? And I always try to place emphasis and focus on what is it that we can control. And I think if we focus on that, I know if we focus on that, we will see advancements within our community. We'll see those advancements within ourselves. For too long, we use racism, oppression, discrimination as a crutch. We absolutely do have to deal with it. We have to have people that have those conversations. We have to be in the rooms. We have to call it out whenever we see it. Simultaneously, we have to figure out what is it that's in our control and what are we doing about it. The other conversations can become too much of a hindrance. But what are we doing to get our Black Wall Streets back? No, Black Wall Street did not only exist in Tulsa. You had several other communities in which it existed. And if you're talking about different time periods, you got dozens of other communities as to where it existed. Tulsa is just the shining light. And I know some people will say, well, everybody always talks about Black Wall Street and Tulsa and this and that, but you have to understand that this is new information for a lot of people. The Tulsa experience, which I had a chance to go to Tulsa, and we took about 50, 60 kids with us to Tulsa, me and 20 other men in the community. We do this always annually. We go on the Civil Rights and HBCU tour. So I went to Tulsa, got to talk to the people in Tulsa, went to the museum, got to go to Greenwood. Little known fact, the Gap Band, if you ever look up the Gap Band, that is where they are. That's where they're from. Gap actually stands for the neighborhood that they came out of. I already gave you one, so it's on you to look up the other two for the A and the P. And so talking about it, like, you have to go visit these places. You can't just do all this from the confines of your chair, your home office, or just poring over books. And especially if you want to preserve these spaces as well, you have to go on a family travel and go to some of these communities, especially if they have museums and things, because they need the funding to help them stay open. They need the marketing to help them continue their operations. They need the support. So I would definitely encourage that you take the opportunity, and it gives you the chance to also go see the beauty of America. It also gives you the opportunity to go to some places that you probably would never go to, talk to some people that you would never talk to, see what the different cultures are, because just the African American culture, and when I say African American, I'm including Jamaicans, I'm including Haitians, I'm including Hispanics, because we're such a melting pot just in the African American community alone. We're not a monolith. And so understand those different backgrounds. What's the difference between the North and the South? Me being from Detroit Black community is not completely the same, or not even, just can be totally different from New Orleans African American community, because our histories are different, but we all still are up under that umbrella as well, which is important. So if we are looking internally, we're trying to say, well, how do I treat other people? How do I treat the women in our community? Am I teaching the babies that that's not even mine, but what am I doing to contribute to other families as far as teaching the babies how to act, moral upstanding, interaction? Like, all of that is our duty in this community as citizens of this community and as being members of the Black community. And so that's what I love to focus on, is what are we doing as a people? What are we doing as a community to advance and to make improvements in our community? And if you're not really coming from that type of lens or that type of positioning, then it doesn't help. You become a hindrance on the community as well. And I'm not going to empower our youth and empower my counterparts to be able to scapegoat other people to say, like, this is the reason why I'm not advancing. You at least try it, put forth a full faith effort, improve the areas and things in which we need to improve on. And then if it don't work out after you put some time into it, or if you can actually point to real discrimination, and if point to elected officials really trying to hinder us and hold us back, after you put in some time and some real hard faith effort and unity and really packed and built and improve the things that we need to, then we can possibly entertain the racism, oppression, discrimination as to why we're not advancing as a community. But for now, if you're not focused on your own story, if you're not trying to uplift your own people, if you're not trying to become self-aware, self-righteous, on a daily quest to make yourself 1% better, then I really don't have time to really listen to it and hear about it at that point, because it's just like you don't want to put forth 100%. You don't want to try your best to do that. So I'm not gonna belabor that point. I feel like I've said enough on that. But this is just the space and place that we're in, and so as a person who does a lot of research on Black experience, political awareness, leadership, like, that's what my contribution is going to be. Because having all this information in my head, if I'm not sharing it with other people, then it's really of no benefit, because it'll just all be for self-gain. And I'll still be spinning my wheels, because I'll come in interacting with other people, and we won't go anywhere, because they'll still have their shortcomings, their shortfalls. And then also, if I'm not dialoguing with other people, how can I learn as well? Because you have to learn through engagement. And I always say this, debate is great for democracy. So I believe that we need to debate. But what I'm not going to do is debate you if you're just full of opinions. You don't have any facts, statistics, data to back it up. I'm not even wasting my time on that, nor should anybody else waste their time on that. So you also have to be humble enough to want to do the work, want to do the research, look into it, and even be open to differences of opinion. Like, I'll study Hebrew Israelite information, Nation of Islam information, 5%ers information, Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, Toussaint Louverture, Thomas Sowell, all of those people in different spaces, they had difference of opinions. But here's the other thing too, and I always say this, it doesn't have to be an either or, it could be a both and. You can take the best from each one of those people that I named, and I think that that's the gift when you become a receiver of history. I can take the best of all of those names, learn their different philosophies, because we never refer to our ancestors as philosophers, even though they engaged in political work, they engaged in psychological work. You're talking about like E. Franklin Frazier and Frantz Fanon, Dr. Naim Akbar. They engaged in psychological work. Then you have also the business side of things. And so they had their own theories and philosophies on that, but yet we never referred to them, and we never looked back to see what were their philosophies on these different subjects. Frederick Douglass, and then figure out, okay, well, yeah, I agree with that. I can use that into this time. That's taking history and making it active and making it relevant to here today. Knowing facts and birth dates and stuff like that, that really doesn't do anything to help people get out of their situations and improve their situations, the dynamics that they found themselves in today. It doesn't. So what we have to do is take the works of Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Michael Eric Dyson, Ta-Nehisi Coates, like Ibram Kendi, and we have to put it out there in the space, and then we have to dissect it, dialogue with it, use it, debunk it, substantiate it, and then figure out how can we package that into something that's relevant today. That's what I'm trying to do. So this is not just going to be segments and usages about past knowledge and all of this stuff was great in the past and here's what they did. It just, if we can't apply it today and learn from it today. So, you know what I'm saying? Again, Black History Project, House of I-10 on YouTube. Just uploaded the TikTok real quick. So that's what we're getting into, because these are conversations that we have to have, and somebody has to introduce this stuff and put this stuff into the atmosphere. somebody has to, and it has to come from a lens of not crying woe is me and oppression, but it has to go with like, well, what are we going to do now? How can we learn from our people in the past before? How can we make this relevant today? Like, that's what we doing. Straight up. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. New cameras, new platform. Like I said, I'm using Riverside. I was on Zoom. I was gonna go to StreamYard, but StreamYard is crazy with the pricing on a monthly basis for whatever they giving. So I'll let y'all know how this goes. I'm gonna test it out for probably a couple months, and I just got to get in here and record, man. I got to get in the lab. You know, people kicking out the freestyles and the music and stuff, but we got to kick out this knowledge. We got to kick out this information. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be competing interests. I ain't gonna never knock the other music and stuff, but there's a total saturation of that. So it's like, well, where is the other information that's talking about knowledge, wisdom, understanding, knowledge of self, you know, that's kicking out things and themes to make us better? Because, like, even if you listen to the drill rappers or you listen to people in the music industry, you know, they talk about, well, what's up with the shorties in the neighborhoods? Like, what y'all want for them? Everybody saying they want a better life for everybody else, right? That's what they saying. I don't know if it's, you know, maybe they want a better life just for their people, but not ops and stuff like that. But I feel like if everybody elevates, then you no longer have to have ops, because, and it's always going to be that, because people cannot get past, and it's, you know, a very difficult thing to deal with psychologically, but cannot get past once you committed violence offenses against their own people and their loved ones. And so dealing with that is a whole nother space. But if you don't talk about it, you can't begin to heal. So the only thing I can do is just go off what they say when they do their interviews, or all these different people that go and visit their neighborhoods, and they ask, well, what is it that you want for the community? Like, do you want, and they say they want the community to get better. Well, then who's out there helping them to make the community better and really helping them see another side of things, knowing you can't go back and erase the past, but what does the community getting better look like? What is that process? So if I'm not putting it out there and if other people not putting it out there, it could be people who are looking for answers. But if everybody just either afraid to click the video and record because of the comment section or whatever, then we're not gonna never get better. So again, I don't believe in the either or. I believe in the both and. And then once we get further advanced in the both and, right, there's levels to it. Like Meek Mill said, once we get to like level 6, then we could begin to talk about that. But right now, we don't even have people that's taking that first step. We don't even have people on the first level to even walk into the door to begin leveling up. And so that's where we got to try to get people to walk through that door, take some time, you know, and really figure this out. Instead of just pointing out and saying, man, things ain't gonna change. I don't like them. The things ain't gonna change people. We ain't got time for them, but they gonna hold us back. Because that's just the easy way out. The easy thing to do is to just point and be like, bro, we can't get nowhere because of Trump and the Republicans and the conservatives. We can't get nowhere. Like, it's easy as hell. Excuse my language, my bad. That took no effort. It takes no effort to do that. It takes no effort to just sit and watch football games all day or to play video games all day. It takes no effort. Like, you don't lose anything. You have no responsibilities. You have no real confrontations. Like, you fake mad that your team didn't go to the league, but yeah, you're not even an investor. But you more matter than the people who actually making money off of this. Like, it's weirdo energy. And so, and that's only shots fired at those who want to come and want to say, like, bro, you wasting your time doing this and doing that. Like, how am I wasting my time? Like, at least I'm trying to advance and change some things, and then trying to legacy building to making things better. All you doing is just throwing up your hands. That's the coward. That's the cowardness. So, and especially like the old African proverb says, young men for battle, young men for war, old men for counsels. Young men for war, elders for counsels. Whatever way you want to say it. I'm still in that younger stage, so I need to be out here on the front lines because the older people need to be able to just counsel and be like, well, no, here's what you're wrong. And if it's any older people that's telling me not to do that, not to waste my time, then you are providing wrong counsel. We're not even listening to that because I'm not even dealing with that. So I think that's where that's where we at with it. That's what we gonna be doing. And so for all the youngins that's looking for some type of advice, how to get out of the situation or at least build, like, first get educated. Get the education first. Take the indoctrination out. Get the education. Deal with the facts, the building, the planning, the blueprints. Going backtrack, looking at your people who did it before, figuring out what they did, what was their response to these particular situations, what you could take out, how you can build in, what you could use for the day, and then figure out how you can level up your homies, so all of y'all can win, and understanding that there's a space and place for everybody. I think it was J. Cole that said they act like 2 legends cannot exist. Hell, 10 legends can exist. If y'all the same mindset, have the same goals, and want the same outcomes, and don't get corrupted by greed. So that's what's important. So yeah, stick with it. Shoot, I might go live again. I might go live 4-5 times. It's just getting it out there. Building on that, yo. So, peace.